Welcome to the Healers Café, conversations on health and healing with Dr. Manon.
So welcome to the Healers Café. And today I have Andy and Pam Duchovnay. Did I say that right?
Yes.
It is Duchovnay. Okay, great. And they have the Indigo Sanctuary. They're sound healers, rock collectors who collect rocks from nature in sustainable ways throughout the USA, and spiritual artists who do lapidary arts. So I have lots of questions for you. You've also been spiritual partners for 36 years. You're both empaths and have been healers since childhood. And one of my most common questions to start is, how did it start? How did you go into the healing field? So let's start with that, and really thank you for coming on this show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we started in the healing field, both of us as being the people in our families who seemed to have the sensitivity to sense the energy that was going on in the family and having the skills to navigate what was going on in the family. And I think that's how it started for us. And then as we grew up and we met each other and started our lives together, I think we were looking for a higher quality of life, something more rich, spiritual. And I think together we introduced each other to different things that we were interested in, and the synergistic effect between it just seemed to grow.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go back because it's funny. One of the things that or the people I want to attract are self-identified healers in every household. I really believe that there are people that end up being the sensitive ones that kind of understand what's going on, and they self-identify that way. And it's funny when you both sort of talked about that right away. So how did you know that it was you? How could you tell that that was your calling? Is not quite the right word, but that it's your path?
I think that it wasn't something that I knew as a child. It was only looking backward that I was able to assess, why is it that this is my role in my family? And why is it that my family looked to me to exercise whatever powers I had to try and calm the waters or just add to the positive energy in the family and in the situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then, because it's interesting, you became a lawyer too. You're an environmental lawyer. Did you see a connection or a link between your natural sort of skill set to, in a sense, be the mediator of the energies of the family, with your role as a mediator or lawyer? I don't know what you were doing in law exactly. So did you see any connections there?
I did, and it took me a while to figure that out. I started being a defense litigator, and it was very adversarial, but I was working for the city of Philadelphia, so I appreciated what I thought was working for the common good. Over time, the litigation and the fighting that's inherent in the practice wore on me. So I was looking for a much more meaningful practice. And fortunately, I had stumbled into working with organic food producers, which I saw as being part of a positive healing community. And I really was longing to do much, much more positive work and much, much less adversarial work. And fortunately, that's where I ended up at the Environmental Protection Agency. But I always knew when I was changing my jobs that I needed to be working towards a common good with people who shared the mission or the goal with me.
Yeah, interesting. And so, with you, Pam, then when you met, you were doing yoga, or that's what you were doing then, or how?
Oh, actually, I was a children's entertainer.
Okay.
That's I had a was recycling Sally, and I talked about recycling. That was my big character. It was booming at the time. And then my mother got sick, so I spent 8.5 years caring for my mother. Yeah, and she actually moved in with us. So we had small children and my mother. So at that time, I really didn't work at all, except, with of course, it's a lot of work with children and
The
my
word
mother.
work
And the
isn't quite
kids
right.
loved my mother. What?
And so
Pardon?
the word work,
I
maybe,
know, I didn't work outside the home. That's yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, and my mom was a single parent, so it was pretty much understood as a young child that I would do that.
Interesting.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, yes.
So, at this point, then you're doing breath work, and
Right,
you're in your bio you say spiritual artists.
right, right.
That,
Well,
can you tie that a little bit in, and then
mhm.
what can you share too that people might be able to do during these extremely stressful times?
Well, I could say that that I started teaching after my mother passed, and um, from there, our practice started to flow. It really started to flow, and I think that practice is different for everyone. I don't tell people that practice should be yoga or practice should be meditation. When I started teaching, I was teaching in a regular yoga environment, and I moved more towards therapeutic yoga. And a lot of my clients were into prayer. And I felt that it was just as beneficial as meditation. So it really depends on the person. I think if you make your own practice, the creative process is so much more meaningful for you, and you'll stay with it.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
just curious how, yeah, I'm interested always what people do and what they believe about what they do. So, uh,
Yes. Yes.
because some people are, very rigid about this is the way to do it, and other people
Mm-hmm.
it's like, no, discover it. And I know for myself, at one point I had stage 4 cancer, which was quite a shocking, not utterly surprising, but somewhat surprising, because I was living on a farm, organic food. I was doing all the right things as far as I had my practice, which I loved. I was aligned with what I'm doing, but I was taking on stress that wasn't really mine to take, because I had a belief. I believe that I was responsible for other people, and I wasn't, and I didn't know this, I didn't learn this. But coming to a conclusion here, I ended up healing through discovering sound therapy myself. Like I didn't, this is quite a few years ago. This is 24 years ago. And what I did after I got my diagnosis, and I was supposed to have a hysterectomy and do all this, and I wasn't aligned. I kind of felt like I don't want to take a cancer out when I know that the cancer is coming from another place. It was unresolved beliefs and emotions. So I locked myself in a room for a couple of days, literally, and I found myself humming at certain frequencies. And I at that time, it wasn't like I was Googling, or I didn't even really know how to do all that stuff. And it was just by allowing that time with myself and just letting the creative energy come in and just follow it and trust it and, be really connected. And I did that, and I chose a few other natural therapies, but I healed without chemo, without surgery, without anything else. And, so that's why I'm always interested about the bigger picture about healing.
Right.
And the intuitive knowing that so many of us have.
Right.
Journeys.
I totally agree with you that we have to trust ourselves intuitively, and we know what we need. I think that sometimes you start with one thing, and then that one thing turns into something else. And for us, we always loved being in nature, but from yoga, we started rock hunting, which is probably not, there's no real connection.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say,
but I think intuitively it helped us, and then we knew what we needed, if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah. I was reading like that, going, okay, there's a story there, but
yeah. I firmly believe that things that we have done in the past and learned are never wasted and never lost.
No, I agree.
Because as a really little boy, I loved rock collecting. And when I was 13, I got a rock tumbler. And then it was 45 years later, I bought another one, and that part of our lives together, picked up again with rock hunting and studying them and then learning about, where do they come from and making sure they're ethically sourced. Mm-hmm. And then we learned lapidary work on top of that. And I think our studies and our use of the stones continued in many different ways.
So we look at a rock now and we analyze it, what chakra it comes from. So there, the yoga moves into the crystals and the gemstones, and the way we collect our stones are very similar to the way we eat, in a way, because we try to do things in a more natural way. So,
and we believe the importance of energy and the presence of energy everywhere. So, just like when you raise food organically, the energy of raising it in a good ethical way and in a sustainable way, it infuses the food, and you don't get negative karma from it. And we feel the same about ethically sourcing our gemstones. We know that we're collecting it in a respectful way, and it adds to our sense, because we write about our stones and we say, every stone has a story. Let me tell you about it. And it's like, where was it from? And what did we do with it? And what are the attributes of it? And it just, I don't know, it just adds to the positive energy and the experience for us. And then when people come and they see what we've done with them, sometimes people are drawn to a stone without any discussion. And then we say, well, let me tell you about this stone. And it adds to the level of their appreciation for that stone. So.
Hi, I'm Dr. Manon Bolliger, and I wanted to take a moment to thank you for watching these podcasts. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Also, feel free to leave comments and like it. This way, more people get to find out about this work and about other choices for health. So I think it's really important that we all share this information. I have a free gift to you. It's a 7-sequence email that has tips for every day, and it's a little insight about how to live your life when it comes to health. And it's very much built on how I managed to overcome stage 4 cancer and what it took. So I would love you to have this, and thank you once again for listening to these podcasts.
So, so we get very excited about it, and it all weaves together because we started taking gemstones and Reiki infusing them and incorporating them in singing bowl playing sticks.
Okay.
It adds to the energy level and the spiritual experience of it. So we like to have connections between things that we might not always see, but it just evolves that way.
And again, just following your instinct, and it's funny how you tied into, in the past you liked rocks, and it's funny how it seems like our life, circular is not quite the right word, but there's aspects and parts that keep showing up. It's very interesting, if we listen to it. So what could you or would you want to share with people? Because this is a time, and again, I don't want to get it political. That's not at all where I'm going. And under my own license, a lot of us have gag orders, so we're not really allowed to speak. So I'm not trying to go into any of those type of details, but I'm well aware that there's a lot of people in deep fear, and they may be fearful of the virus. They may be fearful of fear itself. They may be fearful of the changes in their life. There's a lot of people in a lot of pain. And what practices from everything that you've come across? First of all, is it like that in Philadelphia? Maybe it's.
Oh yeah.
It is.
Okay.
It really
I
is.
think one of the things that we find most helpful for us, that would be helpful for other people, is to have a daily routine of a spiritual practice. It's important that it be daily, and it's important that once someone starts it, they should stay with it for about 30 days to get used to it and have it become almost muscle memory. And having a safe space to have that practice is really important. A place that's calming without electronic devices, a place where they feel comfortable. Maybe there are things in it that inspire them to have higher thoughts or bring back good memories. So having a home sanctuary, a place to sit and practice, is really important. And then as to the home practice, everyone has their own approaches. Like Pam said, it could be prayer. For us, we start out with, we clear the space by playing our singing bowls. Some people may ring a bell or burn sage, something to clear the energy, and it creates a positive, calming mood. And then we do meditations first. And we do a mantra meditation with mala beads, and we do chanting after that. And when that's done, we do a yin yoga practice. It's a slow meditative practice. And that evolves. We add things to it over time. We draw upon our own religious traditional background, and everyone should feel that they should personalize their practice with their own beliefs, so it's significant for them. But we believe that there's a lot of negative energy out there, and people are sensitive to energy, and it's really easy for people to have the energy cling to them. And having a practice every day creates a shield, a calming, mindful shield where you don't automatically absorb the outside negative energies, and you can keep to yourself a little bit more with a little more self-care and keep an even balance, because the world is going to be difficult, and we are going to have people trying to push negative energies on us, but we have to fight to resist taking them on.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's interesting, because being in the medical field, though it's naturopathic medical, it's still medical. You're so focused on so-called helping everybody else, and I found that the process really starts with self. It really yes, objectively we can help certain things, like if people are low in a certain vitamin, like vitamin D, and there's a viral thing going on, like common sense things. Yes, that makes sense, but really for the level of distress that people are in, none of these things are sufficient in and of themselves, and there's so much divisiveness that's being created almost, right? Like I don't know that people are that divisive, but under so much stress and so much pressure, and when you talk about electronics, you're watching, I've been picking up the news and stuff, and it's like, oh my goodness, it takes over your ability to really connect with yourself and therefore really connect with others. I don't know if you're experiencing that in where you are at all, or.
Well, we do feel, some isolation because we've been quarantined.
Right.
We stay in our house and we go out, but no outdoor events or no social events. We do keep in constant contact with our spiritual friends in Nepal. Right. So we have that sense of larger community. So that's really important.
Yeah.
And they're quarantining right now too, so they're in lockdown right now, and it's a difficult situation around the world. It's almost you almost can't take it in. It's difficult to take it in. Yeah, and I think both Andy and I, fear can come to us easily. Yeah. Fear can come to us easily, and that's not really a bad thing. We've looked at it in different ways, but when it, it's the home practice helps us a lot with that, shielding ourselves of fear and not worrying so much. But we do change it around a lot. Not a lot. We stay with the 30 days, maybe longer sometimes. But we do change it. And it distracts you. That's distraction helps a lot.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
And I think also the familiarity. I mentioned like the muscle memory.
Right.
Like with us, we have our mala beads. So it's 108 beads. And when we sit down, we know that we're going to chant and we're going to go through the entire set. And as you get started, it's like, oh, okay, I'm here now.
Right.
And you keep chanting and rotating the beads and going on to the next one. And it's that sense of continuity and familiarity. And I think you can sense the past positive vibes and endorphins you had in other spiritual experiences, meditating or chanting. And it just brings you back to that sense of calmness. So you know there are going to be problems during the day, but we feel better facing them, having had that chance to just calm down and prepare to face them and just be ready for them.
And I do feel that grounding, there's so many different kinds of grounding practices. Because being empaths, and I think Andy and I are similar in this area, we sometimes react from our hearts and we don't ground ourselves from our feet. And I find any grounding exercises during this pandemic is wonderful. So now we're going to really focus on gardening. That is, we're not gardeners.
I was gathering that from what you said.
We are not. We love to play in the garden. Try every year. I think Andy's a little better than I am, but but there's so many, and there's different practices from chanting to qigong that help you with grounding, with centering. So I think that is a really big component. Don't you think
Yeah.
so? Yeah.
Yeah. So we try to do root chakra,
Right.
things, and the yin yoga is very centering in that way.
Yeah. And when you say grounding too, you mean also just like take off your shoes and put your feet literally on the soil.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and you bring a point in because there are people who the word spiritual religious doesn't resonate, and spiritual, it's like, what do you mean? Because it feels like it's a massively wide definition. I don't even know if it's actually defined particularly. I haven't looked it up anyways. But when you say gardening, it's like you're grounding and you're focusing and you're having fun. So there's something kind of about being very present to the activity that has, for me, that has deep spirituality. Like when you're calm and quiet and connected, that is the beginning of this, so I'm speaking to people who the word just is like, okay, whoa, what is that? I don't have stones and I don't have this, it's like, well, you have plenty right there. You can start with, your garden if you have one, if not, your plant in the house. Like, it's amazing how nature is so calming, and but we can really connect to that,
And seeing something grow is exciting.
Yes.
It's really exciting because a lot of people they're not familiar with growing food. So
Right.
where does it come from? It comes from the supermarket.
Yeah.
But seeing the plant in all the stages, it gives you a great appreciation for life, I think.
Yeah. No, my daughter just moved out more in the country, and she's actually started to do a farm, like a small farm, and it's amazing. Like she's so thrilled with noticing all the things, the little seeds come out and then putting in the garden, and and it's and then she's got hens and chicken laying hens, and it's just a whole other world. Not that she always knew where things came from because I made it so, but it's very different participating directly in nature too, so I get that. So I mean, our time's up. Is there any last words you'd like to share?
Well, I'd love people to look at our website. It
Yes.
has lots of articles on there that are very informative, and
we really feel it's important for us to share ideas. So also on our Instagram, and I think you have our link for that, we're constantly researching and providing information to help people understand about different aspects of their life, self-care, being mindful, living a spiritual life as they define it. So we would like people to reach out and to learn, and if they have questions, to ask us. But we would ask people, try to find your own safe space, try to find your own practice that appeals to you, and spend time with it. Take care of yourselves.
I just want to make sure that your actual website, I just want to make sure I have that. What is, you want to say the name?
It is www.theindigosanctuary.com.
Perfect. Okay. Well,
And
thanks.
our Instagram is @theindigosanctuary.
Okay, great. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's
thank
been a pleasure.
you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us at the Healers Café with Dr. Manon. For more information, go to drmanonbolliger.com.